Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're taking a really deep dive today, going all the way from massive global flashpoints right down to the cutting edge tech that's literally shaping our tomorrow. We're unpacking the biggest news drops for April 27, 2026, and breaking down all these complex global and domestic stories so you can get a clear grip on exactly what's going on in the world right now. All right, here's our roadmap for today. First, global geopolitics and conflict. Then, the economics of war. After that, top U.S. domestic headlines. And finally, technology, science, and tomorrow. Let's get right into it. Section 1, Global Geopolitics and Conflict. Standoffs, drones, and shifting alliances. So right now in the Middle East, there's this massive game of diplomatic chess happening. Iran is putting an offer on the table to end its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, which is obviously a completely vital global trade route. But in exchange, they're demanding the U.S. lift its naval blockade and officially delay nuclear negotiations. It's a really bold move that instantly shows how global trade bottlenecks are being used as direct bargaining chips for nuclear timelines. And it's not just the high-level diplomacy shifting. The actual tech on the ground is evolving incredibly fast. Take Hezbollah, for example. They're now reportedly using advanced fiber optic first-person view, or FPV drones. Why does a fiber optic cable matter so much? Well, it gives them a 15-kilometer range that completely bypasses traditional electronic jamming. Because they're maintaining a physical, unjammable connection, the standard electronic defense systems used against Israeli forces are basically rendered obsolete. It's a wild example of how one micro-technological tweak can have massive macro-military consequences. Looking across the rest of the map, military alliances are really hardening right in front of us. Russian President Vladimir Putin just met with Iranian Foreign Minister Araghchi up in St. Petersburg. And this is happening right in the middle of Iran's severe oil storage crisis, which is being heavily driven by U.S. sanctions. Meanwhile, North Korea just opened a brand new museum in Pyongyang, specifically to honor North Korean soldiers who were killed fighting alongside Russia in Ukraine. And speaking of Ukraine, their general staff confirmed some incredibly precise strikes on the Tuapse and Yaroslavl oil refineries, taking out dozens of Russian fuel tanks and distillation units. You see, these aren't just isolated incidents. They're all interconnected pieces of a very quickly solidifying global conflict map. Okay, moving on to Section 2, the economics of war, shifting budgets and export bans. I really want you to focus on this number for a second. 75. According to a brand new report from SIPRI, European defense spending just surged at its absolute fastest pace in exactly 75 years. Take a moment to just process the scale of that. We're talking about a historic, multi-generational level of rearming happening right now across the European continent in response to all this global instability. But here's where the contrast gets really fascinating. While Europe is aggressively arming up and pouring massive amounts of capital into defense, U.S. military spending actually dropped by 7.5% in 2025. This divergence could have huge implications for how the burden of global security is shared over the coming decade, with one side of the Atlantic ramping way up while the other adjusts its budgetary footprint. We're also seeing some very direct, localized economic fallout. Iran just officially banned all exports of steel slabs and sheets through at least late May. And the reason why is pretty stark. They're dealing with severe domestic infrastructure damage from recent airstrikes. So you have a country forced to just completely choke off its own highly lucrative steel exports simply so they can keep the materials inside their borders to rebuild. It's a perfect real-world example of how warfare instantly disrupts global commodity markets. Let's bring it closer to home with Section 3, top U.S. domestic headlines, covering national security, extreme weather, and culture. If you're watching from the Midwest today, this is absolutely the most critical number you need to know. 40 million. 40 million people are currently under severe alerts for a massive storm system, bringing imminent threats of tornadoes and extremely high winds. It's just a stark reminder of the sheer scale of extreme weather events and the immediate logistical and safety challenges facing a huge chunk of the country right now. The rest of our rapid-fire national news is honestly giving us a bit of whiplash today. On the security side, Cole Allen, the suspect in that shocking White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting, has now been officially charged with attempted assassination. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, King Charles III and Queen Camilla just touched down for a historic U.S. state visit. And then, on a completely different, much lighter note, New York City just announced they're doing massive free fan zones across all 5 boroughs for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So yeah, from intense national security to royal diplomacy to global sports, the domestic landscape is incredibly busy right now. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 4, technology, science, and tomorrow. Air taxis, AI chips, and ecosystem recovery. It is so fascinating to look at the dual nature of aerial tech right now. On one hand, in the military space, you've got Hezbollah deploying those unjammable fiber optic drones we talked about earlier, explicitly designed to escalate conflict. But literally at the exact same time, in the civilian space, Joby Aviation's electric air taxis are officially taking test flights over New York City. We are watching the exact same domain, the sky, being used to wage war abroad while revolutionizing clean, peaceful urban transport at home. Down on the ground, the breakthroughs are just as huge. NVIDIA just announced these next-generation cool AI chips, which is a massive deal because it promises to drastically cut down the enormous, environmentally draining cooling requirements for AI data centers. And speaking of the environment, scientists over at UC Riverside have cracked the genetic code of fungi that actually thrive in soil ruined by wildfires. It's a brilliant scientific roadmap. By figuring out exactly how these fungi survive and rebuild, scientists think we can dramatically speed up forest recovery after devastating fires. But our rapid sprint into the future isn't all just flying taxis and resilient super fungi. It brings up some seriously dark and complex ethical questions. Like, can an artificial intelligence be an accomplice to a crime? In a genuinely chilling case down in Florida that pushes the absolute boundaries of tech ethics, prosecutors are alleging a murder suspect used ChatGPT to research methods for body disposal. Just think about the implications there. It is sparking this massive, intense new debate on AI safety and guardrails. If a tool is used to brainstorm or research a severe crime, where does the liability actually sit? How do you even program safety into a system that's literally built to answer practically any question a user asks? So as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought that really ties all of this together. How will these rapid leaps in artificial intelligence and climate tech shape the massive geopolitical conflicts we're going to face tomorrow? Because when fiber optic drones meet AI targeting, or when climate innovations shift global wealth, the macro and the micro are inevitably going to collide. Thank you so much for joining me to break all this down today. Keep questioning things, keep analyzing the world around you, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.